Hello and welcome. Tonight, more tribunals give their verdict on the March 18th governorship elections. Governors Agbu Kefas of Taraba State, Amadu Aliu of Sokoto State and Dakwa Abiodun of Ogun State emerged victorious. Quest by former governor of Benue State, Gabriel Soswam, to return to the Senate runs into troubled waters as appeal court set aside evidence of 11 additional witnesses in his petition against Senator Emmanuel Udende. Federal government envisions a new national defense and security strategy to confront the security challenges threatening Nigeria and the ECOWAS sub-region. And more than 100,000 people, almost the entire population of the ethnic Armenians, flee Nagorno-Karabakh since Azerbaijan seized the region last week.
And on business news tonight, the Naira closes the last trading day of September with a 2.6% gain against the United States dollars as the official market meets persistent scarcity and soaring demand for the world's #1 currency.
Despite being a Saturday, it's been a day full of activities at the courts as some governorship election petition tribunals delivered judgments in the cases filed before them by various petitioners from Sokoto to Taraba and down south in Ogun State. Let's head to the north, where the Taraba Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, sitting in Jalingo, the state capital, has upheld the election of Governor Agbu Kefas. In Sokoto State, the tribunal dismissed the petition filed by the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, Mr. Saidu Umar, and upheld the election of Governor Ahmed Aliu.
It's the judgment day for the Taraba State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, and security agencies are not taking chances as all roads leading to the court premises are barricaded. Inside the courtroom, the three-man panel of judges led by Justice G.A. Sumonu dismissed the petition of the New Nigerian People's Party and its candidate, Professor Yahya Sani, for lacking merit. The NNPP and its candidates are alleging corrupt practices, non-compliance to the Electoral Act of 2022, overvoting, mutilation of result sheets, and violence in polling units during the conduct of the March 18th governorship election in the state.
The petition was anchored on 2 grounds. First ground is that the election was invalid by reason of non-compliance. And that the second ground was that the governor did not win the election by majority of lawful votes. All the 128 witnesses they have brought did not prove any of the allegations against the return of the governor.
Documents were tendered without the makers of the documents being called as witnesses. The law does not permit that because a document cannot speak for itself. So if there is any issue with the document, you call as witnesses those who made the document and people in whose presence the document was made.
Party faithful took to the streets of Jalingo, the state capital, to celebrate the decision of the tribunal. Meanwhile, the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal in Sokoto State has dismissed the petition filed by the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Saidu Umar. In a unanimous judgment, the chairman of the tribunal, Justice Haruna Mshelia, said the petitioners were unable to prove the 6 grounds formulated in their petition.
In the course of trial before the petition, no contrary result was presented by the petitioners. So the tribunal came to a conclusion that actually APC and its candidates won majority of the lawful votes cast at that election.
The grounds for the petition include alleged falsification of certificates, variation of names, electoral fraud, and non-compliance with electoral guidelines.
We were able to show, even came to the point that we even brought the school headmasters, where someone responded school or the non-school, and the fact lies that his name was not even found on the register of that school. But the tribunal says that those witnesses are supreme witnesses, and to that extent, their evidence goes to no issue and be rejected. Conversely, other issue raised therein again, the tribunal looked at it in their own wisdom and felt that they are dismissed because they are not relevant to the issue at stake.
The petitioners have 14 days to file an appeal, which should be dispensed within the next 60 days.
In Ogun State, the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has upheld the election of Governor Dakpo Abiodun as winner in the March the 18th governorship poll in the state. Delivering the judgment, which lasted for about 10 hours, the tribunal held that the petitioner failed to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt. It then struck out and dismissed the petition. The court also held that Governor Dakpo Abiodun was qualified to stand as candidate of his party, and the subsequent announcement by INEC as the winner of the 18th March governorship election in the state. The PDP and its governorship candidate, Mr. Lade Adibutu, had filed the suit challenging the re-election of Governor Abiodun over alleged corrupt practices, non-compliance with provisions of the Electoral Act, and that the governor did not score majority votes to be announced as the winner by INEC. Staying with the fallout of the general elections, the Court of Appeal in Abuja has set aside the ruling of the Benue State National Assembly Election Petition Tribunal, which allowed Senator Gabriel Suswam of the PDP to call 11 additional witnesses in his petition against Senator Emmanuel Udende of the APC, after he had been foreclosed from calling further witnesses. The appellate court held that the tribunal was wrong for setting aside its order foreclosing Senator Suswam for calling further witnesses in his petition. Consequently, the three-member panel of the court, led by Justice Mohammed Shuaibu, ordered that the evidence of the 11 additional witnesses called by Suswam after the foreclosure be expunged from the record of the tribunal. By implication, according to the counsel to Senator Udende, Senator Suswam's case has collapsed. Away from the courts, as the nation awaits possible intervention to avert the shutdown of activities across the country by organized labor on October the 3rd, the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress in Rivers State have directed their members to fully comply with the proposed nationwide strike. The state NLC chairman, Mr. Alex Aganwo, gave the directive after a joint leadership meeting of the NLC and the TUC in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital. He said, barring any changes, there will be a total shutdown of all facilities and operations under the unions in Rivers State, as directed by their national executive councils.
Today, PMS in Rivers State sell between 590 to 700 naira per litre. You are also aware the current hardship that this has caused in terms of increase of petroleum products and the price of goods and services in the country. Today, the dollar is going for $1 for 1,000. Comrades, is that the life Nigerians were expecting after the election? No. So we as NSNTC have said enough is enough. As workers, we will stand up for Nigerians, we will stand up for Rivers citizens, we will stand up for the general public to make sure this hardship does not continue. So the masses of this state, including the other organizations, civil sector organizations, other good people of this state and good people of Nigeria, we are also imploring you to join us in this struggle. Because this struggle is not about NLC, it's not about TUC, it's about Nigeria. So we, the masses and workers, cannot sit and watch. So hereby we say enough is enough. This strike must commence. Come 3rd of October.
Trade unions globally are recognized for the pivotal role they play in advocating the rights of workers. And here in Nigeria, the conglomeration of over 71 trade unions into two labor centers, namely the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, has been a force to be reckoned with. Now, both the NLC and the TUC have on many occasions led the negotiations of wages and other workers' rights with the government and other employers of labor. Our next report takes a critical look at recent developments in Nigeria's organized labor movement, especially its bargaining strength and unity of purpose.
Over the years, the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have continued to engage the government in negotiations for the rights and welfare of Nigerian workers. Apart from sitting on negotiation tables, the NLC and TUC have also led national protests against some policies of government which they consider as anti-people. Some of these engagements and protests have forced the government and, in some cases, other employers of labor to change their policies and accede to the demands of workers. For instance, some of the strikes, protests and negotiations by the NLC and TUC in 2018 led to the 30,000 naira new minimum wage in 2019. A nationwide protest by the organized labor and their civil society allies against the federal government in 2012 also forced the government to shelve its plans to remove fuel subsidy. Without a doubt, an organized labor movement has a force that can hardly be ignored.
Unions are formed by the workers, essentially to protect their economic right and for them to have also a good bargain with their employers. The best way is to build stronger unions, because only stronger unions can protect the interests of the workers, and they need to speak with unity.
However, the coercive powers of the labor movement in Nigeria has often been threatened by forces within and outside it.
No two individuals are the same. Whereas there are genuine labor leaders that come into the movement to lead struggles and represent workers' interests. You will also find those that basically do not understand the tenets and the rudiments of trade union, and they can be used at every point in time. Some employers do undermine unions, and in some cases they try to bring about division in the unions. It's a fact.
In 2016, an internal wrangling within the NLC leadership birthed a splinter group called the United Labour Congress. A similar development played out in the academic circle when in 2022, the federal government registered the Congress of United Academics, CONUA, and the National Association of Medical and Dental Academics, NAMDA, probably to weaken the powers of the Academic Staff Union of universities, which was at that time on an 8-month strike.
The Honorable Minister of State.
Whereas the NLC and the TUC have on several occasions worked together, they have also worked at cross purposes in some cases, a situation that became evident in the recent negotiations with the federal government.
The NLC has been the foremost labor center in this country, foremost, before the birth of TUC. And without prejudice, TUC has its own independence. They operate. However, you have been going to ILO. In every ILO is the NLC or any international organization that is invited. And any other trade union, there may be 4 to 10 tomorrow, will line behind NLC.
We take decisions based on information available to us. We take decisions based on the mood of the nation and what we think is right for our members and what we think is right for Nigerians. So if you say there is a crack, well, you can interpret it, but for us and left for us, we are addressing the issues to the best of our ability and what we think will be to the best of Nigerians at all.
TUC NLC, stronger together.
However, at this news conference on Tuesday, September the 26th, 2023, the NLC and the TUC downplayed their differences when they declared an indefinite strike beginning from Tuesday, the 3rd of October, 2023. In the days ahead, many Nigerians will be watching to see how the NLC and TUC engage the government in matters relating to workers' welfare, rising cost of living, and the general well-being of the Nigerian worker.
In part 2, after the break, Governor Francis Nwifuru of Ebonyi State presents scorecard of his administration's performance since he took office on May the 29th. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the News at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. More tribunals give their verdict on the March 18th governorship elections. Governors Agbo Kefas of Taraba State, Amadou Aliyu of Sokoto State, and Dakwa Abiodun of Ogun State emerged victorious. Request by former governor of Benue State, Gabriel Suswam, to return to the Senate runs into troubled waters as appeal court sets aside evidence of 11 additional witnesses in his petition against Senator Emmanuel Udende. Federal government envisions a new national defense and security strategy to confront the security challenges threatening Nigeria and the ECOWAS sub-region. And more than 100,000 people, almost the entire population of the ethnic Armenians, flee Nagorno-Karabakh since Azerbaijan seized the region last week. president has returned to the country over 2 weeks, or more than 2 weeks, after he left the country to attend the 78th United Nations General Assembly in New York, United States. President Bola Tinubu, who landed at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, was received by his Chief of Staff, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, and other senior government officials. Meanwhile, the president is expected to make a nationwide broadcast tomorrow as part of the week-long activities to mark the 63rd independence anniversary of Nigeria. Meanwhile, in order to confront the security challenges threatening Nigeria and the ECOWAS sub-region, the federal government says it is embarking on a new national defense and security strategy. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this when he represented President Bola Tinubu at the passing out parade of cadets of 70 regular corps of the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna State. According to the Vice President, President Bola Tinubu has also directed all heads of security institutions in the country to synergize efforts to protect the nation's territorial integrity.
A total of 707 cadets comprising the Army, Navy and Air Force are passing out from the Nigerian Defense Academy ahead of their commissioning into the armed forces as junior military officers. Among them are those from some allied African countries.
Our battalion is commanded by Commander Kajola.
These young men and women have undergone rigorous academic and field training with their curriculum review to include counterinsurgency and counter-terrorism training. This passing out ceremony marks the successful completion of their training and the beginning of their military career. President Bola Tinubu, who is represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, is the reviewing officer.
Any moment now, the march will break into quick time.
In line with military tradition, the cadets display a colorful march past in both slow and quick time to the admiration of dignitaries present. Vice President Kashim Shettima reminds the newly commissioned officers of the task ahead of them, especially in view of the security challenges in the country and the ECOWAS sub-region.
At this critical juncture, we're embarking on a new era in our national defense and security strategy, and it will be driven by a resolute commitment to confront the substantial threats and challenges that confront us within the West African sub-region. I have directed all heads of defense and security institutions to unite in their efforts to protect our nation's integrity and well-being. And as chairman of the ECOWAS, we are diligently working to enhance our regional conflict management and development mechanism.
Beyond the newly commissioned officers, the Vice President wants the National Defense College to make investments in scientific research and technological innovations in line with the federal government's local content policy.
This esteemed institution was founded to lead the way and boasts a research center dedicated to exploring scientific inquiries and translating our grandest ideas and theories into reality. Now is the time for us to be the model for the continent.
The winning battalion during the parade is rewarded while outstanding cadets receive awards for their performance during the training.
8 of the 25 travelers abducted by gunmen suspected to be kidnappers on the Owo-Ifon-Benin Expressway in Ondo State have been rescued. The police spokesperson in the state, SP Fumilayo Odunlami Umisaya, said the victims were rescued by the anti-kidnapping squad of the command and efforts are on to rescue the others. The kidnapped victims are said to be members of the choir of the Christ Apostolic Church CAC in Akure, the Ondo State capital. The abductors were said to have attacked them around Elegbeka village, where they were on their way to reform for a funeral ceremony, and then abandoned their bus with the inscription of CAC by the roadside in the area. Governor Francis Nwifuru of Ebonyi State has presented a scorecard of his performance since he took the oath of office on May the 29th this year. The event forms part of activities lined up to mark Nigeria's 63rd independence anniversary and the 27th year since the creation of Ebonyi State.
Top government functionaries and eminent personalities in Ebonyi State are here assembled as commissioners give account of their stewardship in the last 4 months. Declaring the event open, Governor Francis Nwifuru expresses gratitude to God for finding him and his team worthy to serve the people of Ebonyi, promising to stay true to their manifesto.
Today's event portrays our commitment to the tenets of democracy, transparency, respect to the rights of our good people, the finest people of our dear state. Significantly, this is coming few hours before Nigeria's 63rd independence anniversary and the 27th anniversary for the creation of our dear state, Ebonyi.
Next, cabinet members take turns to reel out what the state government has been able to accomplish in their respective ministries within the last 4 months.
We digitized and had an automated Ebonyi State Ministry of Justice with case managed system. We now have an e-Ministry of Justice. It helps us in our case flow. With your handset, you can be at home and check the status of our cases in court and see what we are doing at the Ministry of Justice.
My office has handled responsibility of providing leadership and direction to all 71 ministries, departments, and government agencies in the state, being the custodian of ethics, ethos, traditions, and conventions of the civil and public service. We have upheld the core services and the core values of the service, which include honesty, integrity, impartiality, in coordinating various activities of this sector of government.
Being an agrarian state, Ebonyi requires more attention on the agricultural sector, and the commissioner in charge of the ministry, Princess Nkechi Yoku, gives account of her stewardship.
We reopened the Ebonyi State Fertilizer Company on 17th July 2023, and since then, our commercial activities have started. We are doing very well. We produce all kinds of fertilizer, different kinds of fertilizer there, NPK, urea, etc. We are doing very well in that place.
It may be too early to score the performance of the government, but with the accounts rendered by the commissioners, the administration appears to be on track to deliver on its promises in line with the vision of the governor.
In other stories, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has been reacting to the issues surrounding the death of Miss Greatness Olorunfemi, said to have been thrown out of a moving vehicle in Abuja, the nation's capital, and died later. In a statement, FCCPC's Vice Chairman, Mr. Babatunde Irukera, says the Commission has opened an investigation into the disputed accounts of whether she received appropriate care or delay pending production of a police report or was brought in dead into the Maitama General Hospital, where she was rushed to. He explains that given that the facility concerned is a government institution, it is the Commission's determination that there is sufficient basis or probable cause to progress a limited inquiry into the consumer protection aspects of the events which led to her death. Staying in the nation's capital, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, is promising to dialogue with cattle breeders before going ahead to enforce the ban on cattle rearing within Abuja's city center. Addressing journalists after inspecting some ongoing road projects in part of the nation's capital, Mr. Wike also explained how he plans to provide alternative means of transportation before enforcing the ban on commercial motorcycle operators in the city center.
I'm going to call the cattle people to sit down with them and say, listen, We cannot allow like this. We didn't say that we don't catch in Abuja. We never said so. We are saying within the city. It's within the city. We'll allow you outside the city. That's why you even have plants or whatever that you can even, the cars can even eat. So we'll take that. You talk about motorcycles. Again, people do not understand that in the city it is not allowed. But why we have not taken decision is that we have not been able also to provide the buses that will be the alternative for them. So it is within government responsibility to provide the alternative and then say you leave the area. So that you don't pursue them and then the people will be suffering. No. That's why when I watch people on video crying that, that somebody has been removed, he has been doing well. And the question is, if he has been doing well, where are the buses? On the road. No sentiment, no emotion will be considered when we are doing what is right. No sentiment. We'll do the right thing for the interest of the people.
Let's now go over to Imo State, where Governor Hope Uzodimma is lashing out at those who he says are wrongly accusing him and his government of being behind the insecurity in Imo. He describes such allegations as cheap blackmail and propaganda. The governor, who was speaking during the dedication of the St. Rose of Lima Catholic Church in Oru East local government area of Imo State, also called on those perpetrating violence in the state to desist from the act. It's the dedication of the ultra-modern cathedral of the St. Rose of Lima Catholic Parish in Oru East local government area of Imo State. The multi-million edifice is single-handedly built and furnished by the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodimma, in honor of his late mother, Mrs. Rose Uzodimma, before he became the governor of Imo State in 2020. And because of some circumstances beyond his control, it could not be dedicated before now. But as the saying goes, it's better late than never. And so residents, friends, family, well-wishers and the clergy are here for the official dedication of this beautiful edifice. In his sermon, the Catholic Bishop of Olu Diocese speaks on the need to shun violence and emulate the virtues of Christ.
As your spiritual father, and in line with my prophetic role as your bishop, I urge you to do that work, that leadership role you are called to play with distinction.
We also be incensed.
The bishop, accompanied by other clergymen, performed the normal religious ritual associated with the dedication of a new church building. Next is a special thanksgiving by the governor and his family. In his address, Governor Uzodimma informs the gathering about his mother's commitment to the things of God, which was why he promised to build a church in her honor.
This church has been built in memory of my late mother to honor God. It is therefore a fulfillment of that burning obsession that enveloped me from childhood on how to honor God for the fire of Christianity our mother ignited in us, her children.
On the security challenges in Imo, the governor says those accusing him and his government of orchestrating the issue are looking in the wrong direction.
I want to put it on record that neither myself nor my administration is responsible for the insecurity in Imo State. Anyone who makes an effort to analyze the situation objectively will see that there is no motivation for me or my government to create an atmosphere of insecurity in the state. As a governor, I need peace and stability to succeed.
The event ends with Governor Uzodimma handing over the key of a brand new 18-seater bus to the parish priest. With Nigeria's inflation at over 25%, Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, has been adjudged the most expensive city in the country as inflation in the state hits 29.17%. Against that backdrop, many low-income families have come under intense pressure as they strive to make ends meet. Our correspondent, Will Ibong, visited the Amadasun family in Ikota area of Lagos to see firsthand what the situation is like for them.
In the heart of Lagos, a resilient community faces a relentless adversary, rising prices and soaring inflation. Today, we share the story of the Amadisons, emblematic of countless families facing this economic storm.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Good to have you. Thank you. Are these your children? Yes, they are. This is my husband. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much. You're welcome. You're welcome to Please come in. Oh, thank you so much.
A hard-working couple with 4 young children, aged 7, 5, 3, and a 7-month-old baby.
Welcome.
They rely on the father's income as a cleaner to get by.
I'm into industrial cleaning. A new building, I do the cleaning. Like, for example, they just finished a building. I do the cleaning, the window, just everything, both the floor. You understand? So all the trash, we take it off.
For the Amadisons, inflation isn't just a number, it's a daily struggle.
Let's say that 30 or 40 comes, she just write out the list we need. The most important, it's not as if everything is not important, but the most important, especially for the kids, the electricity bill, I pay 7,000 to 10,000 naira per month. Then the school fees, I pay 90 to 100,000 in a term. It's not really easy. You understand? We're just struggling. It's really telling on my family. You understand? Compared to what I do for a living, it's not that easy.
I have to manage my rice. I manage to buy beans. I manage to buy gari. Manage to blend my ogbono, egusi, pepper. I don't buy their beverage. I don't buy their biscuits in bulk. Now I buy little. I give them 100 naira. Okay, go and buy. I have 3 kids. Okay, 50 naira. You know, and I get sachet of Milo for them.
Just like most Nigerians, rising prices have greatly impacted their spending.
How much was this for? How much was that one now? 150. Like this is apple now. This is not 50 naira before now. Now 150. I beg, give me 2.
In 2021, this quantity of tomatoes sold for 500 naira. By 2022, it had reduced to this amount, and today, the story is completely different.
It has not been easy. It has really brought down the level of the way my cooking, the things I used to prepare for my children, I'm no longer able to prepare that. I need to bring down the things I use, like my ingredients. I need to bring them down to be able to prepare something for them.
Beyond feeding, the Amadisons spend an average of 43,966 naira on rent, electricity, and gas per month. This, according to Mr. Amadison, is quite high as his income remains unchanged.
My income has not increased despite the way things are so hard. If I do, I will lose my clients.
We are not really finding it easy to pay my children's school fees. But what we'll do, once we have some amount of money, we talk to the proprietors. Once money comes in, we balance up.
To get by, families here depend on assistance from local groups such as the Community Compassion Initiative, CCI, for the children's educational materials.
Every year, for example, we carry out a back-to-school project where we, provide backpacks for the children and stuff these backpacks with resources and all the materials that the children need for school, including books. We provide shoes. We observed that many of the children, don't wear shoes to school.
Recent data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows Lagos is one of the top 10 most expensive states to live in Nigeria, based on inflation rate. This could give rise to shanties if not checked.
Social safety net in reality is because you cannot survive on your own. the government provides that support for you. But essentially, the best social safety net is actually to create employment, create jobs, and increase productivity, skills of people. That's a long-term project. The reality is that we have to deal with this at the local level, right? And you do not institutionalize a parasitic society. In other words, people have to be able to fend for themselves.
Responding, the Commissioner for Information says the Lagos State government is set to support 500,000 households as part of its palliatives package and other initiatives.
There have been direct interventions in so many areas for Lagosians not to be able to feel too much the pangs and pains of inflation. For example, the Mr. Baide Sanwo-Olu administration has increased the salaries of workers by 20%, and the implementation began in January.
The challenges facing the Madison family is indicative of a larger crisis and reveals the harsh realities for many low-income communities in various parts of the country. But the big question is, what can be done to alleviate the burden of inflation on vulnerable families, not just in Lagos, but across Nigeria? From the Ikota community here in Lagos, Will Ibong, the channel's television news.
Faith Foundation is reaffirming its commitment to foster wealth creation by promoting business and entrepreneurial development among Nigerians. At its 8th annual alumni conference held in Lagos, the non-profit organization explains it is providing business incubation, growth and accelerator support for businesses.
The conference brings together the foundation's alumni to learn from successful business founders and share knowledge about key areas to grow and thrive in a changing environment. It also gives micro, small and medium enterprise owners an opportunity to network and connect with one another.
Every day is a difficult day, but what really makes those days get better is changing lives. So whether it's a customer that's smiling and happy and has had a good time, whether it's a little child that's bounced out of Landmark Beach and said, "Mommy, I don't want to leave," whether it's a member of staff that's just happy at their own achievements or how they've changed their own lives or changed somebody else's lives. Those are the things that I hang on to.
We believe in our people as our greatest asset, and we walk the talk. Final part will be an authentic leader. Don't say one thing and do another. So when you say it, mean it, practice it. And you know, we don't have junior staff or senior staff. We have staff of JNCI.
All you did was Faith Foundation says it will continue to provide business support services and foster a sense of community and tradition among its members.
At Faith, our watchword is resilience. Our watchword is creativity. Our watchword is innovation. We don't give up. Our watchword is having that Olympic mindset, like we heard our keynote speaker say today. Dare to dream. We see opportunities, and so there's so many opportunities, so that in spite of the volatility of everything going on right now, be the best you can be. And that is our watchword, be the best. Be the best, someone that people will want to tell your story.
It's important for entrepreneurs who are running businesses, not just even in Nigeria, but globally, to really have a context of the operating environment that we're in. Anybody who is running a business needs to understand the policies, the regulations for their sector, needs to be very abreast with, those types of policies, because you don't want a situation as we've been seeing in the last few months where something happens that then runs you out of a business.
When your sales girls are selling. Since its inception, the foundation has graduated over 7,000 entrepreneurs from its aspiring, emerging, and special entrepreneurs programs, and trained over 40,000 Nigerians in its short entrepreneurship certificate courses.
To company news, Stanbic IBTC Holdings, a member of the Standard Bank Group, has reaffirmed its commitment to elevate Nigeria's forest cover from its current 5% to the 25% of national land cover by 2050, as advised by the Food and Agriculture Organization. The chief executive of Stanbic IBTC Holdings, Dr. Demola Shogule, stated this to journalists during the company's tree planting exercise, which held at the Lekki Conservation Center in Lagos. Dr. Shungule explains that the financial services institution targets the planting of 30,000 trees across 10 states.
Staff and members of Stanbic IBTC Holdings arrive at the Lekki Conservation Center. Before the team sets out for the all-important assignment of the day, they gather for a session. In his keynote address, the chief executive of Stanbic IBTC Holdings, Dr. Shogunle, notes that the Green Recovery Nigeria initiative of the NCF aligns with Stanbic IBTC's core values.
We have amplified this chorus of life by 30,000 voices, 30,000 stories of hope. I must emphasize that these trees are not mere gifts from Stanbic IBTC. They are gifts to Stanbic IBTC, our environment, and our community.
The Director General of the NCF, Dr. Joseph Onoja, and a representative from the Lagos State Ministry of Environment and Water Resources expressed excitement about the partnership.
The Nigerian Conservation Foundation, we took the bold step and a bold initiative to see how we can recover our forest cover back to at least 25% as recommended by FAO and UNEP. And that is why we launched out the Green Recovery Nigeria. And we are proud and we are happy so much that Stanbic IBTC has come as one of our very formidable partners to ensure that this goes ahead.
The way we have degraded nature, that's what is giving back to us. But what you are doing today, you are giving a gift to the planet and to future generations. Yeah, that's our gift.
It's time for the tree planting exercise, and the team takes a long walk into the forest.
Because for us in Stanbic IBTC, the totality of what we do, right, whether is we've got what we call strategic value drivers, 6 of them. The ultimate of those 6 strategic value drivers is for us to create positive social, environmental, and economic impact. And what we are doing today keys into that. So this is being driven right from the top, at the board level, down to the senior management, to the last person, within the hierarchy.
Stanbic IBTC Holdings says it will continue to actively support the Green Recovery Nigeria initiative with a target of planting 3,000 trees in each of the 10 states by the close of 2023.
Time now for some business news with Laddie Williams.
Thanks, Ayo. In business news, Nigeria's currency, the Naira, closed the last trading day of September with a 2.6% gain against the United States dollars at importers and exporters' official Forex Market window. According to data from the FMDQ exchange, where foreign currencies officially traded, the local currency went up by 20 kobo to 755 Naira, 27 kobo to $1 at the spot market window on Friday, in contrast to 775 Naira, 31 kobo exchange rate recorded on Thursday. This comes as the country's Forex market continues to face scarce supply and soaring demand for the world's #1 currency. Just this week, the newly confirmed governor of Nigeria's central bank, Yemi Cardoso, mentioned that his top priority at the CBN will be to stabilize the Naira as well as address the lingering Forex market supply challenges. Meanwhile, the Forex trading on the FMDQ exchange ended the third week of September negative as the total turnover that fell by 26.52% week on week to $472 million as at Friday, September the 30th. Highlights of the transactions carried out for the week shows that decline was largely due to the 26.38% drop in the value of transactions at the FX spot market. At the same time, turnover on the FX derivatives segment fell by 37.96%. This was solely driven by the decrease in the FX forwards. Meanwhile, the Naira depreciated further by 0.33% week on week to 774 Naira, 1 kobo against the dollar at the average Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange fixing at the end of the week. And the African Continental Free Trade Area says its $10 billion adjustment fund is set to roll out in the second quarter of 2024. A statement released today, the AFCFTA explains that the Continental Facility, which aims to boost intra-Africa trade, will start operations that will benefit countries, public institutions, and private sector in Africa. The base fund, which is managed by an impact investment arm of Forex Bank, will use contributions from AFCFTA state parties as well as grant and technical assistance to address tariff revenue losses, infrastructure deficit, to facilitate trade growth and possible supply chain disruptions that will result from the implementation of the AFCFTA agreement. And to see how your money performed, it was a brutal week for equity investors at the Nigerian stock market. Recorded losses in all 4 trading sessions this week. The all-share index dipped by 1.4% week on week following profit-taking activities in Boss Cement and MTN Nigeria. On the activity chart, trading activity remained sluggish with a 65.7% week-on-week decline in total trading volume and 40.8% drop in trading value. Sector performance was mixed with gains in the insurance and consumer goods indices, while banking and industrial goods and oil and gas indices declined. Beta Glass topped the list of 25 gainers, up by 30.41%. Wando led 46 other losers, dumped by 33.76%, while the trio of Axis Holdings, UBA, and Transco were the top 3 most actively traded stocks for the week. Now let's bring you some key expectations for Nigeria's capital market in the coming week. The financial market will observe a public holiday for the country's Independence Day celebration on Monday, October the 2nd. At the bonds market, traders expect sell-offs to linger as investors anticipate new auctions. An uptick in yields are also expected. For the Treasury bills market, traders expect yields in the secondary market to increase as possible slim liquidity position will drive demand low. At the money market, the overnight rate is expected to trend upwards. System liquidity will likely come under pressure. And then lastly, at the equities market, cautious trading is expected due to absence of significant positive catalysts to boost sentiment. And that's it from me in business. It's back to Ayo with the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Laddie. Time now for some sports news with Victoria Longjohn.
Thank you, Ayo. Hello and welcome to Sports News. The Nigeria Cricket Federation has confirmed it will host the first edition of the West African Trophy, which is scheduled to hold from October 4 to October 15 at the Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos. Ghana, Sierra Leone and Rwanda are the other countries that will be featured at the 10-day event. Nigeria will face Rwanda in the opening game on October 4, while Ghana will take on Sierra Leone in the second game. President of the Nigeria Cricket Federation, Uyi Akpata, said the tournament will create platforms for the exposure of the national teams to more international engagements, which is key to their development. And Tottenham Hotspur's impressive run in the English Premier League continues with a hard-fought 2-1 victory over 9-man Liverpool. Referee Simon Hooper grabbed the headlines after sending off Curtis Jones and Diogo Jota. Song Heung-min gave Spurs the lead, while Cody Gakpo levelled for the Reds. However, Joel Matip's own goal deep into stoppage time gave Tottenham Hotspur a last grab to victory. And in the English Premier League, Aston Villa hammered Brighton 6-1 in the early kick-off, while Arsenal thrashed Bournemouth 4-0 courtesy of goals from Bukayo Saka, Ben White, Martin Odegaard and Kai Havertz. New Boys Luton Town beat Everton 2-1 at Goodison Park, while Crystal Palace stunned Manchester United 1-0 at Old Trafford. Newcastle United defeated Burnley 2-1 at St James Park, while West Ham United also defeated Sheffield United 2-0. Wolves pulled off the biggest upset of the day after beating defending champions Manchester City 2-1 at the Molineux Stadium. And that's it on Sports News. It's back to you, Ayotunde.
Many thanks, Victoria. The wife of Gabon's ousted President Sylvia Bongo has been charged with money laundering, receiving stolen property and the use of forgery. Mrs. Bongo's house arrest order is being upheld after her case came before an investigating judge. The former First Lady's son, Nuruddin Bongo Valentine, was earlier charged with corruption and embezzlement and subsequently placed in pre-trial detention. More than 100,000 people have fled the Nagorno-Karabakh region since Azerbaijan seized the region last week, almost emptying the region of ethnic Armenians. At least 200 ethnic Armenians and dozens of Azerbaijani soldiers were killed when Azerbaijan's army swept in. Nagorno-Karabakh, which is recognized as part of Azerbaijan, had been run by ethnic Armenians for 30 years prior to the Azerbaijani military operation. Separatists have agreed to surrender their weapons as part of conditions for a ceasefire. And the main news again. Governors Agbu Kefas of Taraba State, Amadou Aliu of Sokoto State and Dakwa Abiodun of Ogun State today emerged victorious as the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Jalingo, Sokoto as well as Abeokuta affirmed their election in the March 18th governorship polls. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has set aside the ruling of the Benue State National Assembly Election Petition Tribunal, which allowed Senator Gabriel Sosram of the PDP to call 11 additional witnesses in his petition against Senator Emmanuel Udende of the APC. And more than 100,000 people, almost the entire population of the ethnic Armenians, have fled Nagorno-Karabakh since Azerbaijan seized the region last week. That's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. You have a good night.